All right, so I have a last minute gift decorating idea, and it's to make these cute bows. And so I wanted to show you how to do it. It's very simple, and I think they just look so great on presents. And so we're gonna get started. You're gonna need just I just use drawing paper. You could use anything that's a thin paper because we're kind of folding it here. I use drawing paper, and then I use acrylic paint, but you could also use tempera paint, you could use finger paint, you could use watercolor paint. They'd all give you different looks. So I just want to show you. So here's my tempera paint. I'm just using Americana Deco Art. I like it because it's matte and it's cheap. Okay, and then I just put it in some lids. These are my palettes. So I'm gonna put that over here. I just want to show you some of the designs. This is one of the designs. So you paint all over the paper and then you cut the paper. So the paper doesn't have to look good. Like, who cares if I made a little mistake there? Not a big deal. My daughter also did it, and she's 9. Well, she's 8, but in a week she's 9. So this is what she did. And then she also wanted me to do, her birthday's coming up, so she wanted me to do some bows for her birthday that wasn't Christmas. And so I did some kind of galaxy star type stuff. I did 2. Okay, so you can see, you can do it all different ways. So I'm going to get set up and then we'll get started. Okay, so I have my colors out. I have 2 colors of green. I have a red and like a red sheen or shimmer. I have gold, I have gold sparkle, and then I have white. And you could do any combination, and you don't even have to do Christmas colors. Like, what other colors could you do? Maybe put down in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. What color combinations could you do? Or what holidays could you do this for? You know, what do you give gifts for? Birthday. Okay, so I'm just wetting my brush, and what I do, the simplest way to do this is just to paint some squares, and I'm not being very precious, and I'm not worrying too much about if I see a little bit of white coming through. And then clean your brush and do another color. Now, if it's red and green, if they mix or overlap, if you blend them, it's going to make brown, right? Because red and green make brown, opposites on the color wheel. So we don't want to do that. So I'm fine with just having a line right there. If you had colors that did mix, you could blend them. And that's actually what I did here, is I blended the edges. Okay? But yeah, so I'm just going to do this here. Just make little blocks of different colors, and you don't have to go in any sort of pattern or, you know, just however you feel. You could just do red and white. You could do red, white, and gold. You could do green and white, or green, white, and gold. That's kind of what I did here, was I did green and white and gold, and I just put the little red dots on. Right? So many options. So I'm going to do this, and I think I'll just, you know, fast forward so that it's not so boring for you to watch. Here I go. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and in the drying process, if I want to do a second coat on top with the same color, just to make it a stronger, more solid color, I usually do. So like here, it's just not as solid as I'd like, and I can still see the paper, and this is just what I like. Okay, and so I would highly suggest doing this, especially if you're doing this for a class. That's better craftsmanship. So I'm just going to find all that same red and wherever I have that red, I'm going to go over a second time. This dries really fast because I'm putting a thin coat on. So remember, it's not a thick coat. Okay, and I'm just also trying to fill in any of the little areas that are white still. You can have white areas, but I prefer not to, especially on the edges here. Okay, so I'm going to let that fully dry before I do the next step, and so I'll put that off to the side. I do want to show you one other way that you can do this that is maybe a little bit quicker and a little less, what do you say, a little less exact. Okay, so this way is really fun if you have an old credit card or an old gift card that you're done with, you're not going to use anymore. You can do this method. And so I'm going to just take some paint like green. I wouldn't want to do green and red at the same time because again, they mix, they make brown. But especially if you've done the first way and then you have all this extra paint on your palette, you can go like this and you can just scrape the paint. And it gives some interesting texture, and I don't really have to think about it. I can just scrape paint, and it's really thin when you do this, and so it dries really quickly, and that's also a bonus. So I just kind of bend my gift card a little bit, and then as I'm doing it, I'm kind of putting a little pressure to bend it as well to get some of that paint that's up there down on the paper. Okay, and that is practically dry and ready for the next step. So that's why I like that method a lot. But I wouldn't do it with red and green because, again, red and green make brown. But you could do a whole red one, or you could do red and gold, or you could do green and gold. But that's a really awesome step. Then you're going to go back with a paintbrush. And sometimes I like to use a thinner paintbrush. Let me go get one. So I got a smaller, thinner paintbrush, and that's when I can add in all my little details. So I like to add in little X's and kind of clusters. This is just what I like. Okay, and little dots in clusters. It's not going to matter because you're going to cut it all up. I could clean my brush. Let's see, what else did I do in here? I did just little lines. So maybe I'll do the red and I'll just do some little lines. And sometimes, do little dots. But sometimes in between the lines, I might take some white and do some little dots. Ooh, that was watery. It doesn't matter though. Okay, so I'm just going to do that all over, and I might do some gold too. It's actually helpful if you stick with one color. Do all of one color, and then move to the next color. Okay, then the next thing I would do is I would add my gold or my sparkle. There's no wrong way to do this, but I'm just putting in little gold dots in between. I didn't really continue with the lines, but I wanted to say you can do any mark making you want. it doesn't matter. But I do think adding a little sparkle, a little gold, a little shimmer just makes the bows pretty. Okay, so I have not only gold, but I have like glitter paint, so when it dries it'll be little bits of glitter. So you decide how you want your color scheme to go. Okay, and I'm gonna let that dry. You can kind of see how it's a little bit like a patchwork, especially if you are doing this one here, but it's like Zentangle too, right? So I just did some patchwork, so I'm gonna let this fully dry. I'm gonna come back. You know what, actually, why don't I just do the one that I already have dry? Let's do that, okay? And so all you're gonna do is you're gonna cut it up into strips, maybe like 1 inch wide or less. Okay, and I don't measure, but it might be helpful for younger students to measure, or younger people. I don't know if you're gonna do this in a classroom or at home. So I am not too worried. The only thing I would say is use one color scheme for each bow, but I mean, if you wanted to mix it up, that's fine too. So you can see why it doesn't matter, because everything gets cut up. I'm just going to cut off this edge that's not very well painted. I just won't use that edge there. Okay, and then I'm going to go get my tacky glue. Okay, so I have my tacky glue here, I have my strips here, and we're going to start folding and gluing. You could also use glue stick. I've seen people use glue gun, just whatever. Okay, so I'm going to fold this, and what I'm going to do is I want to put on the colored part, I want to put a little bit of glue, tacky glue there, and then I'm going to fold it under like this, so it's like a candy cane, and then keep folding and going around like this. And then I just glue it down, and I'm putting a little pressure on it. Okay, and then the other side I'm going to do the same thing, and this is a little long. So I'm going to take my scissor and cut it. Oops. Let's cut off a chunk there, and you'll see how long it needs to be, and you can use this for something else, or actually in the middle of this bow. Okay, so again, tacky glue on the back side, and this is where, if you're doing it with young people, you might need an extra mom or dad. Okay, and then I'm gonna fold it under like that. Okay, and I'm just gonna hold for a minute. Okay, and then I'll get another one, and that's holding. And I'm going to do the same thing. And what I like to do is cut off the same amount. So I'm just going to go, okay, this one I cut off that amount. Okay, so put tacky glue here. Fold like a candy cane. Then keep folding under like that. And you know, you could do this on colored paper so that you wouldn't see so much white. That would be awesome. Or you could paint the back side of the paper. I might try one with colored paper, like green paper or red paper. Copy paper that's colored like that, or construction paper would be great. Okay, and then once that's holding mostly, put glue on the back side. Let's see if I can do this here. Okay, and once they're holding, I'm going to put some glue here and a little glue there, and I'm just going to make a cross or plus sign. Okay, and so they're sitting there. They're going to hold while I make the next one. This time I want to cut off a little bit more of my strip to make it a little less. So I'm going to cut it a little bit longer there so it fits in there. I'll take my glue, I'll fold it up and under. Now this time when I glue it in, I want to glue it like this way. So this is a plus, and then I'm going to make an X. And sometimes they get a little crowded in there, and that's great. Actually, you just are going to, it's going to kind of bend up like this. It's just going to kind of bend up like that. Push down. These ones I made really thick strips, so they're kind of crowding each other, but that's okay because then it fills in, right? Okay, so but I could, like the next one I want to do, I'm going to cut this strip just a little thinner to help me out in this process. So you just adjust where needed, and then this one I cut there. Okay, and it's all trial and error, right? There's no instructions, there's no measuring, which is like my favorite kind of project, is no measuring. Okay, and my daughter found other ways to make bows, so if this isn't your preferred method of like bending like this, that's fine. Find a different method, right? Okay, put some more glue under there. The trick is to have it hold itself, you know, after it's glued. That's why some people use hot glue, but with kids, I don't like to use hot glue. I don't like to use hot glue with myself. Okay, and then we're gonna put some glue down in there, right there. Fold this guy up, push it down in there. There we go. I'm just going to put my finger there for a minute. And I have enough strips for another one. Out of the size paper I had, I think this paper is like 9 by 12, so it's a little bit bigger than copier paper. So you can see, you kind of see in the inside here, so that's where I would take one of my extra strips and just like make a little loop like this, like a tape loop. Hold that together, put a little glue there. Could even kind of pinch it right there. See how it's kind of pinched. And push it down in there. Make sure the glue holds. You're going to get glue on your fingers, so you're going to have to be okay with that. And of course, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to let it hold there for a minute. Now it's gluing to my finger. Okay, puff that guy up. There you have your cute little bow. Isn't that so cute? Perfect for on top of a gift. Even if your gift's not handmade, have this be handmade. Okay, So I really hope you enjoyed this. And, you know, a few days before Christmas, this is totally achievable with whatever supplies you have at home. I like this bow with the fatter strips better. So now I'm going to make them more with the fatter strips, but sometimes it's easier for beginners with the thinner strips. So just an idea. I hope you have a great holiday season, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.